So today we're going to talk about how to draw blood quickly and easily. So when our son was about 3, he had a seizure. And we had never seen a seizure before. And if you're a parent of a child who has seizures, you can probably remember the first time you saw this because it's really scary. So we didn't know what was going on. He fell over. His breathing was irregular. We were a little worried that he wasn't going to breathe right, or he might even stop breathing. He started turning blue, so he clearly wasn't getting enough oxygen. So we, of course, called EMS, and they showed up and rushed him off to the hospital. And Kay and I, my wife and I, got in the car and, of course, followed them to ER. And we're nervous, don't know what's going on. Finally, the doctor comes out and says, well, your son had a seizure. And we had never again seen that before. So, okay. And so then we started the journey of medications, because he wouldn't wear an EEG cap. First protocol, the first step was to let's stick a cap on him and get an EEG and try to figure out where the seizures emanating from within the brain. Well, that didn't work. And even if it had worked, we'd probably be on seizure meds anyway. So we started him on a seizure med. First seizure med, great. He's on medication. Guess what? Seizures kept happening. Okay. Tried a second seizure med. Still seizures kept happening. Let's put 2 of them together. Seizures kept happening. So over the course of literally years, we have tried an incredible number of these seizure medications. At one point, we even had oxygen tanks, right? Because depending on how long it takes for EMS to get to us, and depending on where he has a seizure, one of the problems with seizures, it affects your respiration, your breathing's irregular, your brain's not getting enough oxygen, you can have brain damage. So we had oxygen tanks with us. But one of the other parts of this journey, when you're on medication like this, is you have to go in for the annual blood draw, because certain medications, seizure medications, especially at the dosages our son was taking them in, can cause organ damage. And so we want to make sure that, the dosage wasn't so high that particular markers might show up indicating that the liver is being affected or some other organs being affected. So we get to take him in for a blood draw. Now our son, nonverbal, IQ less than 60, less than 50 actually, doesn't really understand what's going on. Take him into the exam room, and he lays down on the exam table, looking up at the lights, staring him in the face. Not a real comfortable position to be in. But he had never done this before, and okay, he was willing to tolerate it. Come in, poke him in the arm, feels the pain, have to hold his arm down, a lot of effort, we get the blood for the first seizure, or for the first blood draw. But next year, as you can imagine, he was ready, right? Get him in the exam room, sees the table, lies down on the table, remembers what it was like last year. No way. It took 4 of us, with me literally on his chest. So I was on top of him on the table with my knees over both of his arms, holding him down while 3 other people held him down or 2 other people held him down so the 4th person could take the blood. And after a lot of screaming and yelling, and you wouldn't believe it, you probably would if you've gone through this before, we got his blood. And on our way out, the nurse said, you know what, we just don't think we can handle your son anymore. You need to find some other place for that blood draw next year. Okay, now what? We'd have nowhere to go. This wasn't any fun for him. It certainly wasn't any fun for us. So my wife, being the incredibly persistent, tenacious soul that she is, and I know any mom watching this probably feels the same way, right? That often the husbands will sort of brush that piece of the challenge off to the moms. And dads, if you've done it, congrats to you, because I was not that diligent or persistent. But our wife was. And she did all kinds of research, trial and error. We tried all kinds of things. We finally came up with six things that if you follow these, we think it's going to make drawing blood for your child, even though they're profoundly or severely autistic and you can't really explain to them what's going on, about as quick and easy as possible. So number 1 is getting some numbing cream. This is a topical cream that you can apply to the arm, where they're going to get sticked, and you let it sit for a couple minutes and it numbs the skin. Now you would think that's pretty obvious. Nobody suggested that to us. Not a single person. Great. That's important. Number 2, get out of that exam room with the exam table go to where most people have their blood drawn, which is sitting in a nice, comfortable chair. The lights aren't in your face. He's used to sitting in a chair. It's not nearly as scary or as uncomfortable as that exam table that they had him lay on. Number 3, have someone he likes, and he has some favorite colleagues, sit right in front of him to distract him. Number 4, you distract him with music that he likes. Our son loves music, so we'd play the music tunes, the songs that he really enjoyed, maybe even have him watch a video with Ellen right there talking to him and distracting him. Number 5, food. Get his favorite snacks out, right? So not only does he get Ellen, does he get music, does he see the video, but you've got some food in the mix. And number 6, even though it's last, it's not the least important by any means. You find someone that's done a lot of blood draws. Someone that can stick him quickly, get that blood out of him quickly, so the whole thing is less than a minute. We have managed with those 6 steps to make the blood draw about as pain-free and stress-free as possible. Now, my wife takes him in, because being the responsible dad that I am, I don't generally go do these things. So anyway, my wife takes him in, but she's reported back to me several times that, it took like less than a minute and Michael had no problem. By the time he felt the needle in his arm, she'd already gotten the blood. Plus he was being distracted watching the video, listening to the music, Ellen's in his face, he's eating his favorite stuff, and he's sitting in a chair. So I think the moral of this story is, not just for blood draws, but for anything else that you and we as parents of a severely or profoundly autistic child or adult have figured out, is that where there's a will, there's a way, right? That if you are persistent, if you ask friends, if you do the research on the internet using AI now these days, often you can find something that might work, and then with some trial and error, it will work for your son too. Talk to you next week. See ya.